in the book, and this is especially true for the healers, but I think it's very good to know how to do something, not just, sound quality seems a little different for me. Not just what you do in your room, your healing room, but also sometimes to be able to lead a small group in something that helps to lift them immediately. So 2 examples would be, one would be the healing affirmation I did, I will with my own will, which that you can lift a room immediately leading that affirmation. So to not think of only that yourself as this, I mean, it's good to do whatever you do in the healing room and that helps people, but also think of what other grounded things you can do that set an example where you're teaching something very clearly, very concisely, that's powerful. There's some kind of echo or something going on with this mic. Somebody else can talk to me. Okay. So, so along those lines, Swami Ananda created these 6 exercises they're called the super conscious living exercises, and they only take 90 seconds to do, and they're in the book around page 35. And so I just wanted Narayan to just lead you through it. And when I would teach these, I was in New Zealand teaching a deeper class. It was like a total of 3 full weekends, but so one weekend was level 2, and level 1, and the level 2 was actually 2 full weekends. And they were actually getting really clear on being a healing instrument with using Yogananda's technique. So I would kind of have them break off in groups and lead these exercises that I would have Narayan lead. But all the directions are in the book, but I wanted them to feel comfortable that sometimes they could just teach something that's immediately helpful, immediately uplifts the room, takes the mood out of the room, etc., and helps people if they then went home and did it. So take it away, Narayan.
Okay, I could ask you to be playful and stand.
And no, I will not marry over, sorry. Dale Carnegie used to say, act enthusiastic and you'll be enthusiastic. So that's what we're going to invite you to do. Who knows an actor in Los Angeles? Or maybe you know someone, right? So we're all going to be actors right now. And you're going to play the part of raw enthusiasm. It's a new vegetable. And so you're going to walk in place like this. You have to act enthusiastic. And then you have a line, and your line is, I am awake and ready. I am awake and ready. I am awake. You have to say, ready. I am awake and ready. And then it's, I am positive, energetic, enthusiastic. I am positive, energetic, enthusiastic. Remember, you're raw. I'm positive, energetic, enthusiastic. I am positive, energetic, enthusiastic. I am master of my body. I am master of myself. A good actor believes his lines. I am master of my body. I am master of myself. And then we'll go to an Irish Spring commercial. Awake, rejoice, my body cells. Awake, rejoice, my body cells. Awake, rejoice, my body cells. And then we're going to wrap the skull and say, be glad, my brain, be wise and strong. Be glad, my brain, be wise and strong. Be glad, my brain, be wise and strong. And then lastly, let's massage the scalp and a little more softly, but with deep conviction. Let's say, awake, my sleeping children, wake. Awake, my sleeping children, wake. Awake, my sleeping children. And then just hold yourself still for a moment, lift your gaze to the point between the eyebrows, offer all that enthusiasm and joy of your soul back up to your home in spirit.
So you can see the power of that. I would encourage you to just try to lead those. And if you have a meditation group or any kind of gathering, You could do it, but then, so that people aren't shy to lead, someone else can be their cheat sheet. And just like, so they don't have to feel like, oh my gosh, what if I get them backwards? You know, just like it's okay, because trying it, because usually when you stand in front of people, all of a sudden you kind of forget what you're doing, you know? And so if you're trying it, that's half the battle, you know? And then, so somebody else can be, they're just gonna gently correct. Oh, it's just like this acting thing. What do they call that from the sidelines? They have someone spotting their lines, you know?
Prompter.
Prompter, yeah. Have a prompter on the side and just go for it. And just lead it and then build the confidence in the group that anyone could lead those, what Narayan did. And I love the thing about the actor and the believing the lines and all that. That's great. So, this part goes to 3, right? I'm just budgeting my time. Okay, so before we get going, are there any burning questions? There's no Post-its on my desk, but from the morning, anything residing in the mind from that? Oh, okay.
Could you explain more what an avatar is and are all of
These divine beings are all avatars.
Yes.
So the one way to, you know, maybe for the Western mind to understand avatar was like divine perfected being, I guess. I mean, one with, who has achieved oneness, there's no separation. And if you think of the Christ, so it's Jesus, the Christ. You know, just think of how it's something. How people call Jesus the Savior, if you're like somebody you could call on, is perfected. In that sense, these are all divinely perfected. The other way to look at it is if you're generally familiar with laws of karma and past lives and fate, all that. So when you've reached that point of perfection of your lifetimes, and there's nothing that you have to come back for, but then the divine says, but would you go back and help? That would be the avatar. So there can be others who are almost there that you don't, like, so that to the naked eye, you can't tell the difference, but the difference is, and Swami Kriyananda made a point of it, because Yogananda had told him he would be freed in this lifetime that he just completed. At the end of his lifetime, he would be freed. But he made a point to make sure that the line of masters who had come in already free, that they'd always remain like supreme on the altar. That he thought that was an important point to differentiate, that the ones who came in already perfected, there's a special power there. There's a special power of world mission. Other disciples may even be there to help that, such as the apostles helped Jesus. And many of them achieved sainthood and sanctity and etc. And how disciples helped Yogananda, etc. Their own liberation and sanctification will come from that process. But he said there's something special when someone has come back and they've already reached that perfection, and that should be honored. Even though we're all in the oneness, the ones who have realized it and become it, that's a special and holy thing. Which leads me to an important point. Thank you for the question, because sometimes what I like to refer to for healers is the power of the holy name. And so when there is an avatar and you need to really pray deeply, to call on that holy name to flow through the prayer. That's a variation on the invocation I already taught you, but there have been some times when there was a really intense prayer that had to be answered. I guess I'll tell you, but because what I don't, are you all familiar with the 10 Commandments? Now, these days you have to ask, So, but there's the one, thou shalt not take the Lord's name in vain. Well, the reason is because you spend the power. There's power in the holy name, but if you're just using it, either in cussing, which is really bad, because that's like, you get demerit points for that, but But if you're just using it lightly and not really calling on that name, then when you really do need to call on it, maybe your attention's not honed. So there was one time, years ago, somebody went postal in Nevada City, that's the city that's near us, and someone called the prayer ministry from the newspaper and asked us to pray. And so, and the way prayers work, this man who had often been my prayer partner had the intuition he should show up today. You know, he just showed up in my office and said, I just got this message, we have to pray. And I told the person at the paper, give me half an hour. You know, like, and we're just going to pray. And we stayed focused, and it went so deep. But after starting our prayer, and we're just doing the prayer I'm going to teach you, a part of me just wanted to just say the name of Babaji over and over and over. I'm trying to relay the sacredness, because I don't do it lightly. Only do it if I was going to hold that name with utter concentration and devotion. Because it's not like the repetition of the name, it's the repetition of almost the reaching to the oneness with asking for his grace. And it's just, oh, Babaji, oh, Babaji. And that so much energy was coming through. I told you about the medulla. I'd never had that happen. It started to actually hurt because it was trying to stretch wide open to let even more energy come through. And I had never known it was a dynamic point in the body. I thought it was like a metaphysical point, which it is. And it just was stretching, almost like, felt like, it was like, so much energy was trying to come through. And then I felt this bliss, and I knew Nevada City was safe. And, but we only found out many hours later how it was safe. But it turned out that the man had gone home, and somehow in that time period, but then I think this is where the prayers came in. He called his brother, who was a state policeman, and he turned himself in. So he had done his damage, but at least it was over. They didn't know where he was he going to strike again? Because he'd already struck 2 places. But then it's as though sanity returned. And of course he had to do the whole justice route. But what was also interesting, because you know how Yogananda would say, the instrument is blessed by what flows through it. Or the instrument, you could say, is blissed by what flows through it. Well, that was the strongest I'd ever felt. After doing that prayer, I was bliss drunk, you could say, for 2 days. I went, I just knew, because even that night, people were still, they didn't know this other stuff had started to happen. And some people were saying, we gotta lock our doors, or he could come out here. There was still a spirit, but no, we're good, we're fine, it's over. I don't know how it's over, but it's over. And then finally, the news came, but the bliss was telling me it's over. And so sometimes prayer informs you first, and then you read the headlines to find out the details. That's when prayer has gone very deep for a world situation, and we do have a whole aspect of praying for things that way. And I address it a little bit, and there's also some articles online. And I've started to decide to dedicate my blog to praying for world concerns. You know, I sometimes would talk about healing things, sometimes upcoming classes, and sometimes a world prayer. But then now I just said I'm just going to use it for that. So, for instance, there was a prayer when there was a nuclear threat. I feel like it's softening the nuclear threat from North Korea. And I put up a beautiful visualization. Because people can get into reactive fear, and that doesn't help. That adds to the polarization. But if you lift into the light and bring the light, it actually felt like things started to shift at that point. And years ago, we would pray for all kinds of catastrophes, such as when the Gulf of Mexico was filling up with oil, and there were just sometimes some amazing things that happened. And I don't know if any of you have heard of a minister called Frank Laubach. He wrote the book called Letters of a Modern Mystic. And he was a missionary to the Philippines, and then when he came back, he retired in Washington, D.C., which is kind of, maybe, I don't know why he chose that. But he would pray for national and international concerns. He had a prayer group. And he says it's uncanny the good that can happen when you pray about national or international events. But he says what we've learned, and I had already learned it by the time I read this quote, and just to date myself a little bit here, the quote was in my file cabinet. I mean, who uses a file cabinet anymore, right? So it was in my file cabinet because it was before I had a computer. But when I read his quote, I said, I have seen that. It's true. He said, what we've learned it can do, it's uncanny the good it can do, but you have to keep it up every day. And why would that be? There's two main reasons I can think of. One is the general karma of this planet. It's an okay planet, It's kind of your good news, bad news kind of planet. So that's why you need vacations to go to the good spots and enjoy it. But there's some built-up karma in different places. The other aspect is the karma of those elected to office or inheriting office, all kinds of things. One thing Yogananda says, most of them are regular politicians. We expect them to be world noble leaders, and maybe they try. But a lot of them are centered maybe more here in the third chakra. And then, obviously, they also descend from there. And we're on the news lately, So, but occasionally, I think where prayer comes in, when you're praying for them, everybody always has all 7 chakras. And so maybe there's a crisis, and maybe you're holding up light, and you're not saying, do this, do this, do this. It's like when you're holding the light and it's lifting, that soul, because they actually they usually want to do what's right, but how are their chakras influencing them of what's right? They might lift up and then do the better thing. But that's why it has to be every day, because they're not Gandhi. There's only so many Gandhis to go around, because usually by the time you're a Gandhi, you don't feel like being in politics anymore. You might want to go be a meditation teacher or whatever, or lead a spiritual movement. So the ones who are in office, they're still learning that. They're learning about that, how to play nicely with others. So that's where the prayer comes in. If it lifts them, that whole thing up to your better angels, they all have all the chakras. And so sometimes you can get kind of tired praying for the world, because there's always something. But then, so basically I usually will just ask people to send out the 3 ohms, because then it's a wave of helpful vibration to help receptive souls. We're saying receptive souls not because neener, we don't want the other ones to have it. It's because they're receptive, that you're directing it. Like anyone who needs it now, anyone who wants it now, receive this energy. So you're never confronting, like, you better change. You're taking away that part of yourself that says, I wish. You're never beating at the darkness. You're bringing in the light and inviting others to the light. And so that's where it's sending Om at the end of meditation for the whole world, etc. And sometimes you can pray for a particular thing, especially if you find you're always thinking about it, complaining about it, hearing other people complain about it. You think, well, but how would I pray about it? And so sometimes it's almost like the prayers we said before, sometimes you're going to be praying to hopefully change it, and other times you're going to be praying to help people get through it. Like we had all these hurricanes lately, and changing the weather patterns can be tricky, but you can sometimes be praying for people as they're going through a weather pattern, and you may find that, there were very few casualties for that time period or something. Okay, this is a funny story. There's a woman here, I'm not here. There was a devotee, I knew, and she had a daughter. And she didn't live in Ananda. But the mother was very devoted to Yogananda, and the daughter knew the meditation. And then California was going through a drought. Well, this is how the story goes, okay? This is your after lunch story. And so, the daughter was a teenager, was praying to end the drought. And she was sending out, I think she had a fair amount of willpower, and she was just trying to end the drought through healing prayers. Well, the story goes that Sri Yukteswar is the avatar in the middle there with the Indian shirt on, appeared to her and told her to knock it off. So I'm feeling, I don't know if that's exactly what happened, but so why would that happen? Might be the way she was praying? Or did California need to go through that karma? You know? So would the proper prayer to be bless the people who are having to make choices because they're going through a drought? In other words, we're not here, the only way to understand the story would be that we're not here to, our ultimate goal is not to make it all fun and comfortable here. Though that's nice. But if for some reason California had earned the karma to have a drought, and maybe even be humbled, maybe even turn to God, because that's what I was feeling years ago when we had all those lightning strikes up and down the mountains of California. There were 2,000 lightning strikes. And the whole state was on fire. And then when we go to pray for it, I could feel like, oh, the land was crying out to be cherished and seen as a gift from God. You know, that there's a divinity to the land, and if we weren't going to respond with that, it's almost like whenever, you know, people used to say, or there's the Irish blessings, you know, may the road rise up to meet you, may the wind always be at your back, and until we meet again, may the rain fall gently on your land. They just brought it all together, the blessings of the land. They saw it as part of the divine. We've lost that. You know, what are the forests? They're a cool place to go when you have a vacation. You know, but do you go into the divinity? And so I think that's why, maybe he said it in a nicer way than knock it off, but if the lesson to be learned hadn't been learned yet, then no, we're not going to just end the drought so that everybody, you know, maybe there's a divinity to be learned here, and we're missing the point. And so as we try to heal the land, you want to actually go into that wholeness, that sacredness. It's a gift from God. And Swami Ananda wrote an interesting song. So it has about the birds, and the birds sing of freedom. What's that song? Oh, the channels. And he said because people have, and he was also in this song. There's this yogi's written all these books and everything, but he said people have forgotten to call in the angels and the devas to bless the land. And so he wrote this song. He's never talking about angels or devas, but it's sort of the nature of the song is to invite that blessing, invite that divinity of the land, and that's what's been lost. The other thing that plays into natural catastrophes is bad vibrations, negativity. They find expression in natural calamities. So that's the other reason why maybe if someone had sufficient power that maybe they could almost heal the drought, that person would then be told no. If instead what people had to learn was to be positive, loving, kind, even when it's to the opposite political party, everything, both ways. You know, that all the things we justify from our mindset, maybe a lot of that's supposed to go to the wholeness. And yes, you should still fight for what's right, etc. But where's the harmony and the peace? As a contrast, I was sharing this in another class. There's the cycles of time. You know about the Greek cycles of time? What is it? The gold, bronze, what? Silver. Iron. And so there's a corresponding one from the Indian teachings called the Yugas. Have everyone heard of the Yugas? Well, so there's a materialistic Yuga, so that would, think of this, if all that's available is horse and buggies and battering rams, you're in the material Yuga. If you get up into lasers and electric cars and everything, you're in the energy. We're in the age of energy now. But the third highest one is the age of thought, where the power of thought can do things. But the power of thought's always operational, but it becomes supreme. The way electricity and energy is supreme now, the power of thought, so think of Atlantis, becomes very, very powerful. Some people say that's why Atlantis fell, because it was a downward, this big circle. And so, and at the top is the age of divinity, Satya Yuga. So even though you're on this earth plane, it's a holy time. And Atlantis would have been on the downward slope this way. So they say, some people say, that people in Atlantis had all this power of thought, but it was a downward pull and they were using it wrongly. And that's what led to, because they still had a lot of power of thought, but they weren't using it in harmony. Maybe using it against their enemies, whatever, but that caused the land to fall. And that's why you'll sometimes hear about these different civilizations under the ocean. On the same token, I bet pilgrimages in the age of thought, Treta Yuga, which means third Yuga, will be very fun. Because part of age of that Treta Yuga is time disappears to a degree. The same way space disappears for us, that's what this age of energy means. Space disappears. Distance disappears. I mean, you can Skype someone on the other side of the world, and we're just in the beginning. We've got another, 1,500 years, 1,200 years to go. We're at the beginning. We're in the first 100 years of it. And you can Skype someone on the other side of the world. You can travel. It takes you all day. You can go to the other side of the world. You see, distance is disappearing compared to the battering ram days. In Treta Yuga, time disappears. So you're going to go on a pilgrimage? I think you're going to go back in time and go see it. For reals. But then in the age of divinity, everything's so peaceful and holy, and the way we think it's supposed to be now, whenever you're getting upset about something in the mood, you're probably, part of you're actually wishing for Satya Yuga, but we're not there yet. So think of a little kid in the car. Are we there yet? No. Not there yet. But in that age, there's a story of a divine king that sent his messengers throughout the land to just see how things were going. Because I think he knew from his astrologers that they were getting kind of close. And he just wanted to know, are we there yet? So where it's the downhill slide a little bit. And his messengers came back and he said, there's a rumor that a fishmonger, so they were still eating fish apparently, had an argument with his wife at the edge of the realm. He says, oh, it's over. That much disharmony means Satya Yuga was about to descend. One argument from one couple. It's like the spell's been broken. So that's the divinity that we long for. It's almost like heaven on this earth. So if we're not there yet, there's only two possible choices. One, I think Sri Yukteswar said, if you're too good for this world, you'd be adorning some other. And the other one is you're here to help. How can you add light to what's existing now? And that's even the part where prayer comes in. Sometimes we're changing it with prayer, and sometimes we're helping the person go through it. So how do we help each other? How do we help this world go through it? And yes, we want it to be better, and it doesn't have to be a disaster. But we can't lose our peace of mind while we watch this, if we're somehow feeling like it should be way up here. And Yogananda did say there would be 300 years of peace. We're not there yet. I think it's supposed to be fairly soon, but it's a good news, bad news situation though, because he said there would be a war that was bad enough that people were sick of war. So, and then they'd have 300 years of peace. So, yeah, we're still not even there yet. I mean, but you can feel like you're on the edge of it. So I still pray for peace and pray that some of these things, whatever can be dissolved in the light, be dissolved in the light. And you just keep trying and just keep adding to that and don't become part of the negativity. Because for healers and people interested in healing, you're part of the solution, you shouldn't be part of the problem. And it's just, but it is like the kids, it's a journey and we're not there yet. And some things can be mitigated, because I don't want to scare anybody. Because some of these, I sometimes think some of the predictions that we've heard that would happen, I think some happened and some came and went. Okay, along those lines, I'm going to tell you, because somebody came to me and said they had this vision that all this stuff was going to happen in Seattle. And I said, wait a minute. Some visions happen as an invitation to pray, because there's a karmic potential, not a karmic mandate. So that's why you just keep praying. Pray till you drop, and that's going to help your soul either way, right? So years ago, there was a man, this was in the 40s, he fell off a ladder. And then he had this dream, not dream, he had a vision. And the vision was, he was a few decades ahead of that, and he was seeing LA, actually. And he could recognize some of the, I don't know, I can't remember, it might have been Sunset Boulevard, something like that. He was from more Northern California. But he says, everyone was walking so funny. The guys had long hair and they kind of were walking like this, you know. Oh my. And then he saw the newspaper, and he saw the president of the country, and he had really, really big ears. And so it was LBJ. And he's saying, and then you could see the radio announcers going, Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. And all of California was going in the ocean, because you guys hear about that, right? We've heard about those kind of things. It was Mayday, Mayday. That was the karmic potential. What's that, when was LBJ? Oh, he's after Kennedy, so let's say 65. Or the hippies, 66, you know. And it didn't happen. So what else was happening? What mitigated that? You had Yogananda there, he's here. You had, he had the Beatles going to see the Maharishi, bringing meditation. I grew up Catholic, but I remember meditation being on the front of Newsweek. And they were talking, you heard of contemplation and that kind of meditation, but the Beatles made meditation big news. And that was right about the same time. George Harrison writes, My Sweet Lord. What does it take to change a culture a little bit away from disaster? That's why you keep trying. Something happened. I think that guy had a real vision of a real karmic potential. And then something shifted. Is it completely gone? I don't know. But there were some things happening in the culture where some people were really starting to embrace the light. More so than they had been. They didn't even do it perfectly. So that's why as healers and people interested in healing prayers, you just keep adding to the light. And there was another one on a personal level, but I think it adds to this worldwide karma level. Years and years and years ago at Ananda, sometimes people might have a sacred dream. So this one devotee saw this huge mountain of coal, a very huge pile of coal, and his job, that was his karma, that was his pile of coal, his pile of karma. And they handed him a shovel. So his dream was, but then he starts to hear this rumbling noise on the other side of it wasn't like a mountain in nature, but a huge mountain of coal, like you'd have at a coal yard. He hears a motor, so he decides to go around the back of the mountain. And then he sees Yogananda with a front loader. Helping this guy with his karma. just because, the sincerity, I'm going to do my shovelful at a time, draws that divine grace, that divine intervention. So I would say think of healing the world that way. We do our little ask God to perfect your prayer, and just keep doing it. And just keep doing it. And it ain't over till the fat lady sings, and all those prayers will help you go to heaven, right? So if it comes to the worst. So, yeah.
I have two questions. How do you pray for individuals about imposing your will on them?
Good question. Yeah, we've skipped that part.
Because people.
She says, how do we pray for someone without imposing your will? So, one thing is more, you're perceiving that somebody has a problem, and you're adding grace. So it's not your will. You're not saying, I think you should do this. Think of there's Jesus' parable, and he says, when the disciple, he said, when I was hungry, you gave me to eat, and when I was sick, you visited me, and, what did I give?
When I was naked, you clothed me.
And when naked, you called me. And they said, when, Lord, when did we do these things? And he says, when you did it unto the least of them, you did it unto me. So you think of it that way, like you're perceiving there's a need, and you just do your best to add light. For instance, if somebody was hungry in front of you, right? I mean, you don't think, am I imposing my will if I give you a sandwich? You just give them a sandwich, Now, if it, and it's helped the situation. So the adding of healing prayer and healing grace should be natural like that, especially when it's family and friends and people when it's, and also when you get a prayer list, when it's the whole world, you might have to do what a friend of mine used to call a flash prayer. You see the person homeless on the bench, Lord bless them, whatever's going on, bless them, and then you're going about your day, unless God calls you into deeper service. But it's, even that's not an imposition. You're saying whatever it is, help them. Whatever, is it helping them today? Is it helping them out of it? You can have those flash prayers go out for people. Does that help? Okay. There's a few questions. I'll go backwards.
You touched on some points that we think about. Initially, you talked about, somebody asked about healing some of your eyes and being on the heart of people.
Yeah.
So, since I was a teenager, I've always been drawn to homeless people and work with them even today. And I'll get a very profound sense of empathy. And what will happen is I'll feel energy coming in my medulla and in my spine. How can I tap into that? I'll usually just talk to God with that. But is there a way you're feeling energy coming into your body through your spine, like a waterfall? Is there a way to channel that?
Well, there's a few things. Sometimes what Swami Ananda would say is you offer a call to heal where you have suffered in the past. So if you see the homeless people, maybe in a past life you had that, and it's like there but for fortune go I, and so you have this empathy. You know how hard it is, and yet the karma's changed because you're not homeless in this life. That energy coming in the medulla is part of God's grace. So I would, you could pray for them, like I was saying, unless God's calling you into deeper service. And I also say, but when you have that strong a reaction, I would do something that helps, even if it's to help an organization that helps the homeless. See, if it's not your particular ministry, you could say, well, at least I'm going to give a little bit of money, however much you want, like at Thanksgiving, or it could be a little bit every week, whatever finally answers that, whether it's the soup kitchens, but also the prayer. Like you can even pray for the people whose ministry it is to help them do a good job, help them be creative, help the city be creative. But what is it Jesus also said? The poor you will always have with you. To some degree we'll always have it, but can we do it better? Probably yes. But will we eliminate poverty altogether? Probably no, because some people have that karma built up from whatever other things. There's an interesting story. Swami talks about being in India and going on a train, and he saw this group of beggars. And most of the group looked the way you'd expect, but one woman looked so dignified. And for the life of him, it looked like she could not figure out how she'd ended up as a beggar. And he had the intuition that she had been like a wealthy room type of person, but had not shared with her things. So she was experiencing. So she still had the dignity, but she was like, how am I here? So it's always going to happen, even if society fixes everything. There's always going to be some of it, and there's going to be different reasons why people ended up homeless, or in any of the other scrapes we get into. So, somebody had a question? Okay, yeah.
Hi, I was interested in healing and healing. Like I was thinking about for me, but when I got here, I saw that there's a lot of other people here too that might be able to benefit from like healing to sustain and promote like a permanent flow of the divine connection and divine awareness. That right there to help us to be able to heal and use that. If there's something, use that to heal our three things, our body, our soul, our
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah. I think that affirmation that I gave you earlier.
Practice.
Yeah. I.
The book so bad.
Oh, well, okay. Then the other book. This book. My book's sold out.
Again?
Okay, this one. That's so fun. I had to carry that box on the airplane. So, this one, they're both online. I think this was page 66, 67, the superconscious level. It really goes along with what you're saying. Oh, you can buy this one from Gum. And then, that was the one I was talking about, thou art bliss and this. Yeah. And so you get to that wholeness, and then the natural fruit would be then when you pray, or if you have healing sessions, it goes out. And I think even the healers, a healer may gradually change, either in a lifetime or over lifetimes, depending what it is. Towards one lifetime, they may be especially drawn to healing and teaching healing and the kind of stuff I'm doing. And it may segue to another part to think, I'd rather heal people before they get in trouble. Maybe I'll be a meditation teacher, or you can. I'm not saying that one's better than the other, but I can. What I'm saying is the soul itself may change, and your question is of a very refined soul. That's what I'm hearing, and so therefore I would suggest that high prayer, and then meditation. And I'm not sure if they can teach you some high meditation techniques, but that prayer is very high, so you can learn the other ones too. And there's some other beautiful ones. We were talking about, there's one, I'm submerged in eternal light, it permeates every particle of my being. I'm living in that light, the divine spirit fills me within and without. That would be, all of these very uplifted ones will answer some of your question, and then you add the techniques at the end of your meditation. But I would say go for it. And some of his Yogananda's affirmations in that book, and also in Scientific Healing Affirmation, are actually much more on the healing on the soul level. And then the natural fruit of your meditation, it could be a prayer list at the end of your deep meditation. That's what I would think would be good for you. So, you're welcome. So, yeah.
Earlier you mentioned that sometimes disease or illness can be part of the journey of the soul.
Yeah.
Or something that they need to maybe learn. So at what point do you I wouldn't say give up, but you kind of own it and you just realize, I'm not going to heal from this. Let me just figure out something else to do with it, or
Never give up.
Right.
And what's that Winston Churchill quote? We will never give up. Just think of that. And just never give up, because that's part of the journey too. What you don't want is the tension or the feeling like God must not love me.
Because sometimes healing gets exhausting too. Like you just try all these things and you're just like frustrated and nothing works.
Oh yeah, it can be. It can make you go broke too if you go to all kinds of practitioners. Yeah. Yeah, so in a sense, you could go simpler and let God guide you if there's a practitioner that you really need, and otherwise start healing from within. Just do some of these deeper affirmations we're talking about. Go for the wholeness that you can achieve. Go for that win-win, like, I'm going to heal my soul. Might as well go for that. The other thing is, I had a friend in Belgium, and she had some respiratory issues, and for a while, I had to work with some of that. And so I'd send her these things I'd learned, tips, And then she said, thank you for sending me these things. They actually help. But she says, when I go and try to find answers, I get sicker. And I thought, oh no, why would that be? And then I realized, because when she's chasing this or chasing that, she's actually identified with the illness, and that's actually building in her mind. And so I think the energy behind when I was looking for things, I said, it was more like, there's gotta be a way. There's gotta be a way out of here. And so it had a prayer kind of behind the search, where for her it had like, I'm stuck in this, the more I look, the sicker I feel, because it was increasing the identification. So I would say go with some of these basic affirmations we're talking about, whichever one resonates with you, and just really stick with it. Let it go so deep, where you say, I'm going to do this affirmation until the karma's gone. Because, and especially if it's win-win, especially if you're saying, I'm going to affirm my oneness with the light, with God. And then, that one we talked about all the light, and then it went into, but I'm whole, I'm perfect. You see, so you're reaching for the light, and then I'm still affirming this. But it changes your identity to where you're thinking of the light, and the light is within you, around you, and I think that would help that process. And I do think, let yourself be guided more from within if you're going to chase hither and yon for whatever it is. And feel free to ask for prayers on Ananda.org, and like I say, we'll send out the link. Because sometimes having other people pray for you kind of starts the upward journey. It's like it cracks the code a little bit. And that's why we have a prayer ministry. Because sometimes it is hard to do on your own. And something cracks that code. Is that good? Mm-hmm. Okay. Wait a minute.
I was curious, how did you get into this? Did you always felt like you were a healer, or was it something like you were a nurse? Or how did you come to be?
What was the second part of your question? Did I do something?
Were you always a healer?
Yeah.
Or a nurse or something?
Oh, a nurse, I see.
Involved in that brought
Well,
you to
I
it?
was, as a child, I didn't heal little birdies or anything. But I did have an uncanny connection with some animals. And, but I did have, I had intuition. Deeper, I mean, I was just a little Catholic girl growing up in the 50s, but I had past life memories that were so deep and beautiful and holy that I didn't think it was possible, so I thought, I must be crazy, so I'm not going to tell everybody about this, but they were so true. So the intuition was there. And the only thing as a child that was remotely like healing, my brother had all these pet turtles, like, he had this big swimming pool, like those 2 feet deep ones with all the pet turtles. And some of them were like this big and some this big, and he would purposely collect all the turtles from New Hampshire. And one day and then in the winter he'd let them all go, and then in the spring he'd go try to catch all the 7 turtles that are native to New Hampshire again, and including snapping turtles. But the snapping turtle wasn't in this pool. So one day I thought, wouldn't that be funny? That's how kids think. If all the turtles came up and bit my finger, like just gently. That was my thought, so I put my finger in there. All the little turtles, because I just had love in my heart, they all came up and bit my finger. And then they swam to the back of the line. So there's like a oneness with the turtles, you know. I think sometimes, so that kind of empathy or connection can then play into a more serious connection. Because one thing Swami said about healers is that the basic requirement is empathy. Because if you didn't care, you wouldn't spend the time, right? And the way Yogananda said to develop empathy is every day anticipate, operative word is anticipate the need of another person and then fulfill it. So why is anticipate the operative word? For servicefulness or from compassion, it's not as operative. But if you're developing empathy, it means like you're going to have to understand that person from within before they say it. or make it obvious, and then you'll do something. So it can be as simple as getting a drink of water or something. But it's more that you're not waiting for them saying, oh, can I have a glass of water? So it would be serviceful for them to give you one. But if you anticipate it, all of a sudden you're not just fascinated with yourself, you're concerned about them. And then the same thing's happening with healing. So, but I think I did learn how to pray, now that I think, as a child. And there was a profound experience, and I'll share it. Something really intense happened to me when I was 3.5. Anyways, I was temporarily kidnapped, and it was going poorly, and then I left the body. And then one of the guys got a conscience, and they let me go. Well, in that leaving the body, I was thinking the way we think now. And I got back to where I had been playing, and I thought, now that I know there's a part of me that can never be hurt, I could just run and play hide and seek again with my brothers. Or I could be 3 years old again and run home and cry to my mother. And I said, I want to be 3 years old again. So I ran home and I cried 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 and I cried. And I never told her what happened. She pressed me what happened. To me, it's like Martians came. That's about how much I could relate to what happened. So, several months later, we moved to a new house in another state, and I started having recurring nightmares. And all that had registered in my mind is that these two guys wouldn't let me be with my parents. Nothing else had really registered as a trauma. And these dreams were terrifying. All they did was they were keeping me in their car, and they wouldn't let me go see my mom and my dad. I just turned 4 in these recurring nightmares. So, but I grew up Catholic. It had already registered that you pray to Mary, because your name's Mary. And that's your patron saint. So one night, I got up, knelt in the bed, and prayed like this: Dear Mary, please don't tell Jesus. I don't want any more scary dreams. And that was the end of it.
Oh.
Yeah, for my whole life, I never had a nightmare until, teenager. You're wondering, does God, who made up the rules? So, actually, it went deeper than that, though. The one night I really questioned to the point where I decided I'm atheist. Well, there's a story there. I had 3 horrendous nightmares about dead Kundalini energy, which I didn't know what it was. And then I realized, oh, Jesus had protected me all these years. And so I said, okay, I'm with God. So your own journey pulls you along. And after that, I never could waver, because that was so intense. The 3 nightmares of dead Kundalini were so intense. I never turned back. I was 17. I didn't become Catholic, but I knew God existed. I knew Jesus existed. And nothing could tell me they didn't. And so prayer came from those kind of answered prayers, and then other times you're applying that to life. And then, and when I came to Ananda Village, I learned the healing prayers. So,
for me, I have a hard time deciding what would I need to pray for someone. So simply, an extreme situation showed up, and I realized after much introspection that what I need to do is figure out how to pray for this person. So all I did was, in my meditation, I just said, I'm praying for you. I'm praying for you. And then eventually, what was needed to be expressed came on its own.
interesting.
But that was my meditation, and I got so much healing.
That's beautiful.
Just for doing that. And the other person ended up calling me a week or so later, and they had just gone through some realization and crying, so I realized that they've been affected by it too.
That's very interesting. There was a prayer request came to Ananda years and years ago from a woman who was, there had been somebody, a stalker. And she kind of knew who the guy was. I think, I'm not sure if she did know who he was, but there was a stalker, and so she asked us to pray for her. And actually, she didn't name the stalker, because actually, I don't think she did know who it was, or for sure. So all we did was pray for her. Well, after several weeks, it seemed like, he called her and said, I'm the one who's stalking you, and I decided to stop. So the prayers for her had actually changed her aura, her situation, to where he was actually changed. So I'm realizing, any other question? I mean, I gave you lots of loaded material there. Anybody who hasn't asked a question first? No, okay.
I was wondering about, can you go back to pray for your former, past self, as a child, like your child's self?
Yes, you could. I don't know that in a meditation you could do it, and I think the way to do it, and because I've even prayed only in rare occasions for past, some of my own past lives, but basically what you wanted to bring is your higher wisdom to that moment, whatever it is. And so it might be, for instance, if there's a trauma, well, like where did the wisdom come from that little girl in me saying, 3 years old, saying, now that I know there's a part of me that can never be hurt. That's soul wisdom. It's even in the Gita, like the soul cannot be destroyed, or you probably know the quote. Yeah, all that. That's what I knew at 3 years old. I was like, I knew that. I had no Gita, but I knew that because when I left the body, that's where I was. But I feared for my life, but I just said I surrender. I didn't have a word for surrender. I just knew. It was like such an old swaha. I surrendered. I left the body. But then I knew this other part. The soul can never be hurt. I didn't have a word for soul, but I knew. So I don't recommend that. It's a journey, but the point is, sometimes we forget this stuff about ourselves, but when we pray for the past, usually we use affirmations to affirm the strength. Whatever you think was missing then, you can affirm the strength now. The love, the strength, the wisdom. But if you could pray that little girl be healed, etc. But it's usually, I think the ways of praying for the past really are to bring the higher wisdom you now have to that moment, and you're lifting that moment up more than that you're comforting that moment in the crisis. So that would be a much deeper thing, so I want to leave you with that seed thought. So are we good with questions for now? Okay. I want to teach you something in which we would take partners, we get to play healer, and then we get to play patient, and then we'll reverse it. And I might, to shift the energy between it, I might have Narayan or Dharma Devi lead the superconscious living again. Because sometimes after you've been the healer, you're like, oh, I want to sit here, So we shake it up a little. Before that, let's take one prayer request so I can teach the deeper technique. Okay. Is that the diagnosis, schizophrenia? Okay. Oh boy, well that's like your good news, bad news. So she has a friend who has schizophrenia but doesn't really identify it as a problem, so it's not having medication or something, so the one thing that's interesting about schizophrenia for some people is probiotics and going gluten-free can do a world of difference. Because it's the gut's making you crazy, because there's a certain genetic weak spot for that. So you could, sometimes people will be so shy to tell me it's schizophrenia over the phone. Well, I've got this thing. I was like, I said, and they go on and go, does the thing have a name? Well, yeah. Well, no, but, so what is the name? And I said, has anyone ever, because from the nature of what they're telling me, I said, has anyone ever used the name schizophrenia? She goes, yes. I said, oh, that's good. They said, it is? I said, well, yeah, if you do these things. And so I've seen a number of people healed or helped, greatly helped, let's put it that way, by healing the gut and going gluten-free. I'm not saying gluten-free is like the magic cure-all. I'm saying for that, it can be amazing. And when it doesn't work, then Houston, we have a problem. You know, so let's pray for your friends. And I'm going to lead you guys through this, and then okay, so your friend's name? You okay? Oh, bless your heart. I'm taking this tears as a good sign. So let's pray for Adrian. How old is Adrian? See, he must be somewhat functional. Okay. Okay. Pray for him every day. When you get the link, put him on there. And I would say do it for at least 3 months. And then keep us informed. Don't just copy and paste. Give us, update the thing. If even there's a glimmer of hope, like we build on that. That shows us the crack in the wall. And don't feel bad about even asking for prayers through the whole next 12 months. But always give an update. Because usually you'll start seeing something. And there is hope. That's what I want you to know. There's hope. It's important for us to have hope, and then you pray with hope. And then they can receive the hope. Okay? So let's pray for Adrian. Do you know, when you mean mentally he's in a place he doesn't like right now, or physically? Oh. Are you able to say what city he's in? Or you don't have? Los Angeles. Okay. Let's pray for Adrian, 33 in Los Angeles. Some kind of mental component. The Divine Mother prayer would be very good every day. Either one of the ones you learned today. What I'm wanting to do is teach you this other prayer, so we're going to draw on, let's start with the Divine Mother prayer for Adrian, and then I'll teach the technique. Divine Mother, thou art omnipresent, thou art in all thy children, thou art in Adrian, manifest thy healing presence in his body, in his mind, in his soul. I'm going to segue into teaching you this prayer, and that you're consciously going to draw on the infinite energy that's already coming through you into the medulla. You can touch the medulla oblongata. It's the hollow at the back of the neck. Raise your hand if you don't know, and I'll Dharma Devi and Narayan show you where it is. If you need to quietly stand up and stretch before we go on. This part that I'm teaching of the prayer is actually crucial for the healers in the room, because have you ever heard of the healers who get sick after they heal or tired after they heal? That's because they've healed primarily from their own aura, and they drained the tank. Instead, if you're drawing it through from the infinite, you're actually going to have a little extra residual. It's going to fill the tank. And this is crucial right now. So you're consciously thinking of the medulla oblongata, and you're consciously thinking of this. This is the same chakra. The sixth chakra is the medulla is the sixth chakra. The spiritual eye is a reflection of it. And there's also a crown chakra. Yogananda says, don't use the crown. Because you need to go up the chakras, through the spiritual eye to the crown when you're ready. And when people just prematurely meditate, especially for a long time or often on the crown and they're not ready, it makes them neurotic. So just go, keep developing this point, and it will of itself go to this. I did a whole thing on Psalm 23 and the chakras, and it talks about that. So you think of this, these are the same chakras, and now I'm going to lead you through the preparation for the longer technique. Think of these chakras, and your brain is filling of light that's coming in from the spiritual eye and medulla. Those of you who have healing practices, you could do this in the morning, really charge up after your meditation, charge up, do this technique, and then when you do short prayers for your group, you feel that you're developing this pathway to bring in the light into your system, and this will protect you. This plus the prayer of invocation, praying on that holy name, bringing the holiness, will protect you from being drained and also from picking up other people's energies. And you'll be an instrument because of the light coming through you instead of you sucking it out of them. You know, your compassion makes you want to almost absorb it. Instead you say, no, let my compassion be like a waterfall of light going through to them. And that pathway also helps if you have any service or work, like social work or anything that's not hands-on. And think of that pathway is coming through you and uplifting your work, and you won't be drained. So you got the spiritual eye and medulla, it's filling your brain with light, and then think of it also as filling your whole spine with light, your chakras, all the way down to your tailbone. Feel that you're a being of light sitting there in the chair. There's a beautiful column of light, and your chakras are like jewels of the rainbow on it. Or you can just think of them as beams of light. Feel how your energy being of light. And then we're going to tense and relax the body 3 times with a double breath. So it goes like this. Inhale with a double breath, and then vibrate the body, not to the point of injury, of course, whatever's good for you. Vibrate and throw the breath out. Again, inhale, double breath. Vibrate with life force. It's increasing life force, and when you're ready, throw the breath out. And one more time. Vibrate with life force, and throw the breath out. Relax and feel that energy. Let the body go for a moment. And now, because we're going to use the arms as our hands as our healing instrument, we'll forget the body, but we're going to think again of the spiritual eye and the medulla, and the energy is flowing through the chakras, and it's coming down and filling your arms with light. Just think if your arms are filled with light. Now we're going to tense and relax just the arms and hands 3 times. Inhale, vibrate with life force, and throw the breath out. Inhale, vibrate with life force, throw the breath out. And one more time. Inhale, vibrate with life force, throw the breath out. And then you're going to rub the bare left arm vigorously, or however bare you can get it. You want to be rubbing the skin if you can help it, and pull up the sleeve. And then the other side. Excuse me. Yeah, if you got the whole arm, go for it, but I just do whatever the skin I can get. And ideally, you'd have the bare arm, that feels good. So you're basically waking up the energy. And then rub the hands vigorously. And again, let's think of Adrian, age 33, Los Angeles. And we're just going to hold this light around him. You're now an instrument. First, if you need to, bring your hands, this isn't part of the technique, but see if you feel tingling, if you bring your hands together and apart sensitively, if you feel force field a little bit. That's like your own increased aura at this point, if we're not actually sending it, but you have awakened your aura to where your own hands are stronger, and then you're now sending this. Just hold the thought of Adrian. You can think of his name in light, written in golden letters. When I don't have a picture, that's what I do with. Just hold this light around him, Adrian. And like this, you can even say, Adrian, there's a little prayer you can do, but I'm just holding the light for now, because I'll tell you that in a minute. We're connecting, I feel like he's receptive. You'll feel a good flow if he's receptive. And now I'm going to guide the group a little bit. If your shoulders are tense, see if you don't want to go floppy, but make sure you're relaxed. And see if that helps the flow. The main point of your focus is going to be out through the palms, but my mind is uplifted to the spiritual eye. I'm like in the zone. And Adrian, you are whole, for God is in you. You are well, for God is in you. Be thou whole, for God is in you. Be thou well, for God is in you. Sometimes I would do that aloud with a group or silently if I'm not. You're holding this light around him. In the beginning, I'm sort of sending light around the person's whole aura. It's almost like, hello, are you receptive? And he is. Sometimes you can feel like you're sending energy from stem to stern, like one hand on his forehead, his spiritual eye, all the way down to his feet. It's like a general healing. In the beginning, you're doing a general healing. If your elbows are tightly closed, it's okay, it's allowed, but you might experiment opening your elbows just a bit. The same way you'd unkink a hose. If it's tight like this, you don't have to go broad, but just if your elbows are tightly kinked, open it and see if it helps your flow. If your flow is great with them, however you got it, that's fine then. These are just tips. So I'm still feeling to be blessing the whole person. I have one palm on Adrian's forehead, not on his crown, on his forehead, and one down at his toes. And it feels stronger at the forehead. And this is very helpful when there's any mental healing, not only for the obvious reasons, but if it increases his clarity of thought. But my hand is almost magnetically drawn to be at his forehead as I imagine it. And sometimes I'll just go with that feeling, I'll stay, and then sometimes I do have to drop my arm because my arm gets tired and I want to pray this way and see if I can maintain that feeling. And sometimes when I'm feeling the flow, eventually I might be saying, Om Guru, Om Guru, Om Guru, or you can think, Om Christ, Om Christ, Om Christ. And see if it generates a healing force. What Om Divine Mother, anything that's comfortable for you, but the holiest of names. And in answer to someone's question, Yogananda said, even when you're acting as a healer, your true role, even now, is you're facilitating his self-healing. God is the healer. You're facilitating, you're almost creating the opening for his own self-healing. If at any point you need to rest the hands, you can. My hand just still wants to stay at his forehead, even though I mentioned the gut. So maybe what's happening is his own upliftment, his own healing, his own wisdom needs to kick in here, okay? Because I almost can't take my hand off. Oh, Lord. You are whole, for God is in you. You are well, for God is in you. Be thou whole, for God is in you. Be thou well, for God is in you. Adrian, be thou whole, for God is in you. Be thou well, for God is in you. And this may, because the other aspect of healing, it will magnetically draw to him if there's some missing answer. So you're not imposing anything, you're offering light. If it ever felt, it wouldn't be so magnetically connected if he wasn't open. But by extension, the fact that we pray first, open this whole class with praying, that's the other thing that takes away the imposition. By praying first, if it's ever not been right for some reason, I will feel the guidance. It would not feel disconnected because we're praying first. And I still can't take my arm off his forehead, even though I want to. Om Guru, Om Guru, Om Guru. Just think of his forehead filled with light, his spiritual eye is filled with light. And the fact that he has a strong willpower is good. We just need it rightly guided. So one way, I'm now, instead of thinking of his feet, I'm thinking of his tailbone, the root chakra, all the way up to the spiritual eye. I'm just praying for the whole trunk, the astral trunk, the chakras, the spine. And that feels very good. And that therefore any wisdom that needs to go into digestive, etc. I'm just thinking of Adrian's root chakra right on up to the spiritual eye. And just holding this all in light and asking for the blessings of God, Christ, Spirit. If any of you need to rest your hands, it's perfectly all right. And we can go just a tad longer. It feels like the prayer has crested, it's connected. But just feel that you're sending in this light, and then Yogananda says, as you reach the end of a prayer, though in a healing prayer group, we maybe would heal this for 15 or 20 minutes. He says, send light and healing to your patient's heart and brain. So you can lift your hand to one on his heart center, imagine a heart center, one on his spiritual eye. Send light to the patient's heart and brain that he may smile with the health of God love. And so just feel that you're sending that energy. It's like helping his whole upper chakras. And from that natural upliftment and wholeness and happiness and love, he can then be guided to, if there's practical solutions he needs. Adrian, you are whole, for God is in you. You are well, for God is in you. Be thou whole, for God is in you. Be thou well, for God is in you. And sending Om. You may be very uplifted because it's blessed by what flows through it. So just meditate here at the spiritual eye for a moment. Feel that you're giving it back to God. As I said before, this is a prayer mudra. But you can just feel that sense of self-offering, even thanking God and the Masters that you have been given this opportunity to serve in a beautiful way. Then you can rest your hands and just absorb for a moment. And when I usually try to end officially, but I did promise to teach the other things. So if anyone, it's 5 to 3. If anyone needs to go, we can have a few questions and then can go. But I will, whoever wants to remain, I'll teach applying the technique we just did, and laying on of hands just on the shoulders. So raise your hand if you're wanting to stay on for a little bit for that. Okay. Raise your hand, because I would like to segue in, if there's no questions, into that healing thing. Use the energy we've generated. Raise your hand if there's a pressing issue, a pressing question. Okay, going once, twice. Okay. So the way we would do this, we pair up. It can either be with someone in the group or someone you came with, can be either way. And so find your partner, whoever it's going to be, because and at a certain point we'll reverse, and you get a chance to be the patient and you get a chance to be the healer. I think sitting in the chair is going to be better than sitting on those things. We're not going to do laying down healings. We're going to do chair healings. And it's good if you can sit behind the person. So raise your hand if you have a partner already. Okay. So stand behind your patient. Shorty, why don't you I'm going to do a demo on Shorty. Yeah. I will see if I can do this. Shorty, you want to come be my demo? Go for it. You can push it back a little if you need to. Okay. So, does everybody have a prayer? If you're going to sit there, maybe come out of the view. Well, I guess that's okay. That door is hard to see past. Oh, excuse me. If at all possible, can you sit in a chair?
I shouldn't be.
There, that's good. Okay, so it was wonderful to have you here. And if she gets my book, I talk about what I'm going to do in the book. Let's see if she knows that. I should have did well before I knew if the numbers were even or odd. It just worked out great. So, okay, now we're good. There's one more person? In the ladies' room? Okay, well still. I'm going to have, we're going to start. That's the other way to do. There's two ways to get to the same bathroom?
Two bathrooms.
Oh, that's why I didn't want to eat in there. I thought everyone wanted to use the bathroom. So I said, hey, So, anyways. Okay, so the healers can take their hands off the shoulders. The first part of this is to get you in the zone. You're kind of in the zone already, but I want to lead you through something that can help you get in the zone quickly. So, okay, so healers stand behind your patient. And patients can have their palms in their lap. And Narayan's coming, he's coming. So who doesn't? What's going? Are we still odds and evens, or what's going on? Oh, the camera. Is it still good? Is it okay?
He can move just to the right, please.
You guys slide over just a
Thank
bit.
you. Where you were.
Lady with the blue shirt. Oh, you want to see me? Well, your eyes are going to be closed anyway.
Hey, perfect.
Okay, whatever. Can you go that way a little bit? The camera, you're good?
We're good.
Okay. Most of the time, your eyes will be closed. In fact, most of the time, your eyes are going to be closed. I need to see you more than you need to see me. So, I think if you were co-leading, if you're watching, so this two ladies, I can't see if they came over but not in line of the camera, maybe yeah, so if I want, okay, you guys can try this, but if I go, psst.
No, it's okay.
Are you guys good?
Yeah, we're good.
See? Okay. I think I can see almost everybody. Could you guys go over one chair? Because then I can see the man and lady behind you, okay? Because sometimes I can tell a lot just by looking. Okay, I think I have a way to see everybody. Okay. Okay. So our first thing, we're going to do what I call the cross of light. One thing Yogananda said that the cross doesn't just represent the crucifix. It was already a spiritual symbol. And the spiritual symbol is that the upward beam of the cross is the chakras, the spine, going up to here. The cross beam of the cross is your arms. So healers do the cross of light. Just stand here and feel that you're connecting, that the light is coming in the spiritual eye and the medulla, and it's filling your spine spiritually from above, you might say, coming in the spiritual eye and the medulla. Just see if you feel it. And then it's also coming in your palms, like you're reaching to meet God halfway. You're receiving as though divine sunlight. And just, yeah, you can tilt yourself away from the wall a little bit if you're, and just feel that sense of connection. Yeah, don't crowd each other. Just position. And breathe with that a moment, as though you're breathing in light up the spine, up the chakras. And you're also receiving as though from God's energy in the world. I don't mean in worldliness, but in creation. And then also the hands simultaneously, the hands can receive, the hands can also send, as we've been doing. So then when you feel like you've connected, you're in that zone, hold that zone and then just stand behind your patient, but we're not going to do hands-on yet. But so position, the healers position yourself behind your patient, and like this, I'll demonstrate. But you're just going to be behind your patient. And just for now, just be in that zone. And so patients, you'll get a chance when you're a healer. So patients, relax, close your eyes. And so the healers are now in this energy. Now I want you to, without getting hands-on, send energy to your patient. And you can, healers experiment, so this man, help him, he can now, unless he's really feeling connected, he can kind of focus a little bit more. That's good. And you can, so just you're sending energy to the patient. And for now, don't try too hard to do anything, but do what's natural. You're just sending in a benevolent manner. And healers, I want you to focus on, are you feeling it come in your medulla and through you? Is that divine cross of light still operational as you're just holding your hands around the person in some way? Now I want you to stay connected in that zone. If your shoulders are tense, let them go. We want to be relaxed but not floppy. And God is the healer, God is the doer. You are the willing instrument. So see how that feels. And so, and the patients, keep your eyes closed, you're relaxed. And at this point, and healers, keep your eyes closed, but I want to ask the healers to nod your head if you're feeling the energy flow through you. Okay. And any of the healers now, if you're somehow feeling like you want a little bit of help to augment the energy, like you feel like you want a little bit of help making it click a little better, please, you raise one hand. Okay. Okay, a couple of feet. All right. So Dharma Devi, you want to practice on Shorty? I'll go to some. I think, are you, have you been feeling it?
Oh yeah, I got full and I'm sending it out.
Okay. Well, don't send it out. Receive. Just receive. Just receive. You'll have your chance in a moment. Okay, so the healers can now gradually return into a pronoun like this where you're, it's very good, and I'll explain, like to bow to the light within you or to an altar that represents the divine light. If you want to, you can first think of Om, Om, Om around your patient. But then you want to get to a point of pronoun where you're relaxing, releasing the medulla again. And that's what creates balance in the healer. That bow, it's always good after meditation. It's especially, and it's good after healing. It's doubly good because you've asked the power of the universe to flow through you on behalf of this person. And this bow releases your sense of self because sometimes amazing things will happen. And it takes away that I did that feeling. Instead, this is like, no, God did that. I'm the willing instrument, that's my role. My God is the healer. Yogananda would say, just heal and forget it. Say God is the healer, except then when you have to teach a class, you have to remember again. But still, it's like you forget yourself. Just heal and forget it. Oh, it's thine, it is thine. And so the healers, I want you to feel that and that completion, because this also helps, that whole thing of not feeling drained after. It's reminding you that you're part of just God's play of light, and you're helping. Same way if you made a sandwich for somebody, you're helping, but because of the divinity of it, you don't get confused when you make someone a sandwich. If it's your bread, you realize, well, I had to buy the bread, and somebody had to grow the wheat, and somebody had to get the plastic. And it's always clear you're not the doer, you just bought the bread, right? But when the healing flows through you and something amazing happens, it could be this little trap. And where it's going to trap is in your medulla. That's where the ego is, and the ego might go, I did that. That's why you want to bow. No, Lord, you did that. Thy grace has flowed through. Thank you that this grace, thank you for this opportunity to be an instrument of blessing at this time. And so, whenever the healers are ready, the healers can take a seat and just absorb for a moment, because we won't, and then the patients can also absorb the experience. So when I was teaching in New Zealand, I would separate these experiences, from, before lunch, after lunch, or even a different day. So that's why I want you to have this breather. And if you want to stretch, especially the healers do whatever you need. The patients can continue to receive if you feel like it. Whatever the healers want to do. Oh, good. Yeah, very good. Thank you. So. I'm glad I had Narayan teach those super conscious living before, because it wouldn't feel right now. So just feel that. Trying to think if there's one thing we could do in between. Sometimes what I just want to do is do a little bit of chanting, and then we'll do one little chant, and it's sure you happy you are. Dharma Devi and Narayan, you could practice on them. There's a very beautiful chant called Reveal Thyself that that's the only 2 words. And before I had talked about there's a meditation where you say, reveal thyself, reveal thyself. But the softness of the energy, I think, fits as a segue between the two healing sessions. But now, let him chanting. I want to just do the singing Om. I think it'll integrate the energy better. Alrighty then, so quietly keeping this energy, reverse, get behind your, whoever was your healer, the easiest way is to just do a reverse. There's other ways you can mix it up and have it totally crazy, but I think for this, and then Dharma Devi or Nari, like maybe Shirley can practice on somebody. On Dharma Devi or Nari, no. Because he was our demo person, but now he gets to try. Excuse, did somebody leave? You're missing a patient? Yeah, I think we're gonna be good now because we've gone through it. So you can see the nature of what I do. I ask for feedback from the healers and from the patients, and it seemed to,
No, she's going to get a drink of water.
okay. And it did help. Some of the people were saying they needed it to click better. They got to where they did. So that's where, if I'm the main spotter for the room, I might ask healers to actually raise their hand if they're going to need help. When I ask that question, let me, raise it to where I can see it. So otherwise, is everyone good? There's no physical impairments for you to stand behind the person and do this? Okay. Okay. So the patients can relax and just have the palms upward, and that's your job, is to simply relax. And then I'm going to lead the healers through it. So what I had the healers do, because I'd forgotten to do it, was to ask, before we did the hands-on. But let's say, what I often do with this, let's say you're in a non-professional setting, but a friend or family member needs some healing energy. So I'd like you to practice the form and just say, you just kind of lean over and ask, like, is it okay if I do some healing energy for you? Would you like that kind of thing? Okay, so, and I suppose, depending on the situation, if, just, and then at a certain point, I won't have you do this, but you could, maybe I would, maybe I wouldn't, but if you were doing this for someone, you're first doing this, and you could say, is it okay if I put my hands on your shoulders or something like that? So, I could, that part's done. So now the healer, it's now your job to get in the zone, as we'd say. So you're building on whatever your morning meditation was, but you're getting in the zone is like renewing your connection with God. So first you can just stand there, just feeling the energy in your own spine. Because this is, without doing the cross of light, the most important part really is feeling this energy in the spine. Like this. Think of a tube of glowing light going from your tailbone all the way up to this point. And you heard me describe the cross of light. So I'm first going to have you do a discrete cross of light. The healers can just simply go like this and also feel that it's energizing your palms. Not the way out one. First try it just like this, and then I want you to compare if you feel more like when we really go for it. Right. So now healers can go like this and feel, it actually really helps. If sometimes you do this like at home, to feel like, what does it feel like when I'm wide open, just really letting the light in? So you feel as though that divine sunlight is coming on your spiritual eye and your medulla, it's filling you. It's also coming in your palms, and from the arms and hands it goes into your heart center, and you're just getting filled up. And whenever you're ready, the healers can go to a healing program like this. And, ideally you would have charged up the body, or just all depends. But at this point, just do your own private prayer now to God, to the holy ones, to flow through you. In your own words, either the words of this path or your own words, ask in your most pure way for God's energy to flow through you in this healing. And so when you're ready, you can, this would, I didn't have the other group do it, but you could rub your hands together and that might get the energy going. And then you can just hold your hands behind the person. And there's just gently resending energy. And it's coming in, you want to stay aware, like remind yourself, you're focusing on the energy flowing through your hands. And then in the background, double check, are you feeling it flow in the medulla and through you? One way to augment that, to increase that, is think of Christ, or Yogananda, Babaji, Krishna, being with you, around you, or the most pure white healing angels. I think it's primarily, I start with the avatars, but you can also think of the healing angels. That's around you, and a pure white light is all around you, a golden light. It's just protecting this whole healing thing, but it's flowing through you. What I want you to feel is like this infinite supply is coming through you and going through your medulla. So, and then also check if your wrists are stiff or a little bit back, it may impede the ability to flow. And this slightly relaxed but not floppy might help the flow. So with the healers, I'm going to lead you through a few things. So healers, nod your head if you're already feeling something. Okay, and healers, now raise a hand if you feel like you need a little help. Okay, so first I'll help from here, and this will help everybody. So healers, I want you to now personally feel as though either Christ or Yogananda is right behind you, teaching you, and he's touching you at the medulla oblongata, giving the divine light a chance to flow through you. And then, and breathe with it, breathe the worthiness in that of course he wants to flow through you. Because sometimes even some unworthiness from a long time ago can get in the way. And okay, and with the healers, I also want you to, in that thing, I'm going to come help somebody. Before I come back, did that help any of the healers, that thing of visualizing Christ or Yogananda behind you? Nod your head if that helped. And healers, raise your hand if you still need a little coaching. Okay. So I'll do this. So just those of you who are sending, just to keep doing your best. Okay. Oh, the hands is good. I want this to relax. And this to relax a little more. That's back. No tension. Okay. That's okay. So you just go ahead and relax a little. Sometimes I feel like that image I have now, like just with the candle and just gently, God, like there's no cares in the world. It's just we're living in, there's a chapel and it's the mountaintop, it's whatever. It's like we moved in all that it's just God's energy and the prayer energy. That's all there is. And just to feel it from just like yeah, I think so. Just relax into it and just.
distance, maybe.
Yeah, okay, so we ask the patients, patients. The patient, and the healers have the eyes closed, but patients, are you feeling, you should nod your heads if you're feeling the healing energy. Okay. And any patients, raise your hand if you're not feeling. Most of them are there. So sometimes, I think for some people, the distance healing is, they might just not be feeling it, that's okay. So now I'm going to ask the healers to stay in that zone and then just lay the hands on the shoulders. And then continue to send that. Healers, think of almost a buttery, soft, beautiful golden light flowing through you. Relax the lips, let the face kind of go. And just feel if God's just sending a beautiful healing light through you. And I'm going to give a moment. I'm going to ask now, but I'll also give it a few more minutes. But are any of the patients feeling an increase from this energy? Okay. Are any of the patients feeling like it's what they preferred it when it was hands off? Any patients or healers, do they feel more like a subtle but more profound energy with hands off healing? If any of the healers felt more with the hands off, you can return to that feeling, to that position. And if and otherwise, the one thing I want to try, because there's one couple at the back that was, I want the healer at the back, to continue practicing what I was telling you, the light coming through you, and see if your hands can be, just for the shoulders, almost divinely magnetic, but giving a little bit of massage to the shoulders. And yeah, you can touch, and then, but try to be an actual conduit of healing, but just with a little bit of, yeah, because his shoulders were tense, and so this may actually help. So it's not just a muscle thing. You wanted to still focus as a healer, but sending it through, and I want to see if that's helping. Is that helping them? Yeah.
Does this help to touch the medulla?
No, don't, not for now. Just, it's more like your hands, your fingers to be an instrument of sending light. And because sometimes the healing depends on the power of the healer, the receptivity of the patient. So if someone has been doing a lot of hard work and their shoulders are tight, they may need that, but you can add a little bit of that divine energy through the fingers into a little bit of massage, just even the shoulder type massage, but you're sending it through. So at this point, this is a bit of freelance, but I wanted you to put that in. If you're feeling like it's not clicking, but you're trying to help somebody, a friend or family, and you're just gonna do this kind of thing, still stay in the healer mode more than just massage, but the energy can come through the fingers and then to help that person, receive. So we're going to wind this up in a moment, and now I'm going to within half a minute, the healers can, at their own pace, start to pronome, bring the hands together, just stand behind, like you're beginning to separate and then thank God for the healing experience. And your auras are kind of gradually separating and appears that we're apart. And if you were doing this kind of session and it felt right, you could end with an Om. You wouldn't have to. You could end with a silent Om. So the healers can do this. And just mentally think Om, Om, silent with yourself. Just send Om as though you're mentally chanting it. In case the situation just called for silent treatment. And then when you're done that, you can kind of do Om Peace Amen or Om Guru Om Christ, where you're bowing the head, maybe touching the forehead. This just reminds you, so it says those small, leading it back to God's hands. And then when you're ready, and when the patients are ready, if there's anything the patients and the healers, especially the patients, I'll let them lead. You can now talk to your healers if you'd like to. Of course, I forgot to do this in the reverse, but maybe this is perfect. So you can talk to each other. So everybody, before you go, why don't we send out healing Om to the whole world, share the message with everyone. Everyone want to stand, we'll close by sending out Om to the receptive souls everywhere. Just think of that, we're sharing these blessings with all, and it's flowing through us from the infinite, going to any souls receptive and seeking God's healing light at this point for any need in body, mind, and soul.
Thank you so much, Mary. I want to invite everyone. Also, Mary's giving service tomorrow here at the temple, 11 a.m. And if you had a complimentary ticket and you haven't already given a donation, any donation of any amount is appreciated in the basket. And also, there is the Yogananda Fest cards. We have the festival happening next year. You can grab some for friends on the way out. And there's also a healing training that Dharma Devi and I will be doing next year. And that's on our website and on this postcard. So thank you so much. Thank you, Mary. Oh, and Mary will sign, I guess she'll sign books. Yeah. Yeah, if you're not coming tomorrow, she can sign the book now.